All right, Homesteader family, welcome back to the journey. Welcome to this edition of the Monday vlog. This is the second part since the first video was screwed up with YouTube, and I haven't done YouTube for a while. So, trying to remember all the different things you got to do to change these videos, where it used to be always horizontal, and then they made everything vertical. You got to go and change everything. So it's been a pain in the butt. Mickey Mouse again wants to say hello. You see yourself on camera? Yeah, Papa Mouse sees himself on camera. That's what he wants. He wants some attention. For everybody else that wants to know about the dogs, got Minnie Mouse on the couch over there. We got Chubbs below Minnie Mouse. We got Max. So Max is doing good. He's all patched up, doing his thing. And yes, we got the Mickey Mouse. Mickey had to see himself one more time on camera. So, I'm going to give it a minute or two for everybody to jump in that wants to jump in from the last video, because I know it takes a minute or two for all the notifications to go out. And since this was going to be at 7:30, I don't know if the notifications will go out, because once again, I haven't been doing YouTube videos, and I'm not sure exactly if YouTube's going to do everything right or not. I know I have at least one person here. It keeps going to 0 and 1, 0 and 1, so I don't know. Now it's up to 2. So the numbers, it just keeps going back to 0. I don't know what's wrong with YouTube. You sold any real estate yet? Scott, I'm going to be talking about that in a second. I'm going to give everybody a couple minutes, because I know I go to do a Sunday Monday vlog tonight, and all the different boomers decide to call me today, this afternoon, while I'm trying to get work done, trying to do things. I got people texting me. I got Facebook stuff going on. So everybody's just excited for me to be back. So I just want to give everybody a chance to get in. So going forward, I got the comments set up so I can see the comments. I remember to do that. I am 1 year too young to be a boomer. I don't know, Scott. I don't know. Boomers is like anybody over 37, right? Because that's the millennial mindset. Born in 65. I think my dad was born in 61, I think. But going forward. So I'm going to start. If everybody doesn't mind, just give me a minute. If everybody wants to comment in a few minutes. Give me a few minutes to go over everything from spring, what's been going on, so I don't get sidetracked, because I know people like to ask different questions, and then I go on different tangents and different side ventures, and I want to try to get everything out there, and then we can go into questions and comments and all that type of stuff. So, going back to spring, we all remember, those of you that are new might not remember, I basically ended most of the YouTube videos back in the spring, and the last big video was basically me with the lounge chair, with my clothes on lounge chair, and I was going to start sunbathing. I was going to enjoy the summer and everything going forward. Couple things that I didn't mention at the time, and couple different things people were questioning me about, was solar. You know, how did I get the solar if I don't have the money? Because everything was tied up, and credit cards and all that type of stuff. So starting back in the spring, a lot of disasters happened. This year, it's supposed to be a really good year, and a lot of disasters happened. A lot of big changes happened. A lot of headache, a lot of stress and things like that. Then it got better, then it got worse, then it got better, then it got worse. And I'm working through it all. So going back to the spring, the reason I was able to get the solar is because I sold part of my note on the ranch in Colorado to a mortgage broker company that buys notes. So I was able to get a piece of change, and not get payments. I get more money up front. But if something goes wrong, which I'm going to get to, went wrong, they take a lot more money than if you just struggle through. So I got my solar because I sold part of the note in Colorado. That gave me the money to get out the credit card debt that I was in with I finished out with JG Wentworth. I talked about that in the spring. I finally graduated that. That saved me $330, $36 a month. That was going to a payment. So that gives me more money to live on, more money towards animal feed and things like that. With that money, that's how I got my solar system. That got me all 6 batteries. Everybody's like, oh, I thought you weren't going to get batteries for a while. And I wasn't planning to. But I also wasn't planning on doing a side venture of selling part of the note of the ranch. So I did that. And a month later, I think this was either May or June. I don't remember when my last Sunday, Monday vlog video was back then. But the family that bought the ranch decided they're walking away from the ranch. Well, what that meant was by selling part of the note, if they made their payments for so many months, I get the note back, and then I continue getting the payments for next 30 years because it was the 30-year mortgage, just like a bank. If they sold it, then they take a big chunk of money on top of the money they loaned me, which got my solar and paid my credit cards and bills and stuff like that. If they got foreclosed on, then they take the property, they sell it for pennies on the dollar, and the little bit of money I got is all I get. Well, one day before the foreclosure paperwork dropped, I found out about this whole situation. And the only way for me to rescue myself and gamble, because it was a big gamble, was there was a potential buyer interested in it because they've been trying to sell it for a year. Well, just so happened a buyer came at that exact time, and I had a gamble of paying all his back payments, back taxes, penalties, fees, and everything like that in order to see if the potential buyers would even buy the ranch. If they backed out after the, what was it? The appraisal, if they backed out after where the guy went out and checked the water, checked the electric, all that type of stuff, then they could have backed out, and I would be so far in debt yet again. I maxed out both my credit cards, emptied any little bit of money that was in my bank account, which I think was only a few $100s at that point. And I took the gamble. I put all the money on one chip, and I sent that chip, and luckily Colorado went through. Almost. So they did the inspection. They did the appraisal. That's the word I was looking for, was inspection. They did all that. They were ready to close. And then they don't have cash. They had to get approved for a loan. So everything got set on the back burner yet again. I had to wait to see if I gambled all my money and put myself deep into debt yet again if they don't get approved. Luckily, they got approved. So going forward, I'm like, the ranch is selling. I made the right gamble. And closing day comes. And we know what happens on closing day. Closing day can ruin everything. Closing day comes, and I get a phone call that the people that bought the ranch for me in Colorado, they had to go to signing, but they had to bring, I think it was like $8,100 or $8,200 to closing, because in the owner finance contract that I had, they were responsible for paying property taxes. And they hadn't paid any of the property taxes in the couple years or 3 years, whatever it was that they were there. And then the back penalty and the late penalty and paperwork processing fees and all that stuff. So I had to hurry up and get a written note copied and sent to the mortgage broker company for them to accept a lower amount of money than what was on the contract in order for me to get it to go through. So at the last minute, the last hour, they got it in time. They were able to close. The ranch sold. Now everybody's going to be excited. Me included, excited the ranch is sold. I'm done with Colorado. I have nothing left in Colorado. I mean, I got friends. I've got my grandmother that's back in Colorado, everything like that. But I don't have any other ties to Colorado. I don't have to deal with the county out there. I don't have to deal with the bad neighbors out there. I don't have to deal with going back and making more trips, getting more stuff. And it was peaceful. You know, peace of mind. The stress is gone. It's something I don't have to deal with. The bad part, however, the original listing of the ranch was for $499,000. Because for those of you that don't know, I put in over $100,000 worth of fencing, 2 different fencing companies to get all that fencing up. It's not just me doing fencing. I had companies come out. That's a little hidden secret. A lot of people don't know. Like I said, homesteaders don't share everything. Just because you get a bunch done doesn't mean it's a homesteader always doing it. So I paid a lot of labor costs for different fence companies and all their employees coming out doing fencing on the ranch. And then I don't know if I ever talked about the one fencing company that I had issues with. The first one stole a bunch of stuff off the property, and that's why I ended up with the second fence company. Not sure if I ever covered that. But I had over 100,000 in fencing put in to do the entire perimeter. I had everything surveyed, had all that done, so all that was golden. Just like here, there's some stuff going on here. I'll talk about at another time because it's in litigation right now. So that's another thing I haven't talked about, been going on. But back to Colorado. So the original price was $499. I took $399 for the family that bought it for the owner finance. And one of the things I never talked about was how deep I put myself in debt. We all know I love debt. I love running up credit cards. I love being in debt. And I look at it this way. A lot of people are like, you're paying so much in interest over all these years. Yes, that's true. However, if you're always poor, then you're poor, you know. You just survive. That's why I'm in a shed. I'm not in a fancy 4-bedroom house with a Lamborghini in the driveway or anything like that. I scrimp by. I survive. I'm doing what I want to do. Not how I want to do it. You know, I would like to have a house. I would like a kitchen and running water so I don't have to go outside. But when I sold at a $100,000 loss on the ranch, I was going to make it up in interest through the payments over the 30 years. But in order to do the owner finance, the ranch had to be paid off. And I was doing an owner finance myself through the previous owner, Jeff, that lived down in Georgia. And so I had to get a loan, and I got a loan for $75,000 to pay the mortgage, the remaining mortgage off to Jeff, so I could sell it and do an owner finance, because he said he wouldn't co-sign to somebody he didn't trust. He trusted me. For all those years, I made all my payments on time. If it's due on the 1st, it was paid on the 1st or the day prior. I never went 10-day grace period or anything like that. Always paid on time. So he didn't want to deal with somebody else that might not pay or go that way. So I took out $75,000 loan. I paid off the ranch because after all those years of making payments, and then when I sold my house over in Southside Cotopaxi, every dollar of that went to Jeff for everything else, and then I had like $68,000 or something like that remaining. So I got the loan to do that. Well, with them not going the 30 years, I'm not getting that $100,000 in interest. For those of you that don't know, if you do a 30-year mortgage, you pay like 2-3 times the price that you buy a house at, because you pay so much interest over 30 years. So that's how I was going to make up the difference, because $100,000 worth of fencing put in. You saw I rented excavators multiple times. I rented dozers multiple times. I paid and had the electric lines brought in from down the road. I paid to have well drilled and well pumps put in. I paid to have, I got that bathhouse built for the petting zoo. I did all the side fencing. I did all the dam work for the pond. I had a lot of money into the ranch, and that didn't even include buying the ranch. 50 acres in Colorado is not cheap. Like Arkansas, you know, buying 50 acres is pretty expensive in Colorado. So all in all, I was taking a loss, but the interest I was going to gain. Well, now that these new people bought, luckily just in time, excitement, but not excitement, because all they offered was $295,000. So not only am I not getting the $400,000 that was in the original agreement selling to the family that I did the owner finance on, and I would make the other $100,000 in interest to get to my $500,000 that I had invested into the ranch, I now had to reduce another $100,000+. And like I said, on closing day, it was $8,100, $8,200, $8,600 somewhere in there of back taxes and all that stuff that they didn't pay. That came out of the deduction as well. So Colorado's gone. Happy that it's gone. Not happy in the whole situation. The ranch was the worst investment in my life, in my history so far in 37 years, because not only did I lose everything I saved up after becoming homeless in 2011 and losing everything, I lost all of that. All my VA pay. Every month I get my VA pay. It always goes into the animals, $2,500 a month feeding them, and then whatever's left over goes into trying to do the next project, buying the next fence panel, buying the next cinder block, doing whatever. So Colorado's gone. Took a massive loss. I got a small check after the realtor, the taxes, the mortgage broker company took over $100,000. The $75,000 loan that I had to take out in order to pay off the ranch to Jeff. So I got like $54,680 some dollars or whatever. So with that money, because I've had people commenting and questioning, how am I doing so much all of a sudden? That is how I'm doing so much. I got a little bit of money. Now, do I do what boomers do and sit that money in a savings account and not spend it? No. This millennial doesn't mind being broke. I'd rather use stuff now than struggle and wait 10 years to do something. So, with that money, it's all been spent. My buddy Steve down below sent me some $50 IBC totes, and I sent him a thing in my bank account that I had like $26 left in there. So I couldn't even buy an IBC tote. And he's like, you went through all that money that fast? It went fast. So I got the wood splitter. I got that concrete mixing plant. I got the IBC totes, or not IBC totes. I got the water cisterns. I got some gutters, the PVC pipe that I showed in the different pictures. Everything I've been posting, if you guys haven't seen, you can go on. I think I did everything on YouTube too, but you can check out Facebook, the business or my personal page. I put up photos everywhere. I got all the cinder blocks. Home Depot was able to bring a semi down Purdom Lane because I've been working on clearing and brush and everything like that. And I bought a shed. The shed was supposed to be here. They said 4 to 6 weeks. This upcoming week is 6 weeks, so I guess it's going to go all the way. I had it custom made. That's why it's taken so long. And when I say custom, it's not going to be a fancy shed. It's a 12 by 20. This shed is a 12 by 24. And it's only going to have one door on it. And the custom part is it's going to be a white roof, white siding, white trim to match the shed. They had sheds on the spot, but when I moved out here in 2020, this was the only shed available because that was during the sickness everybody wigged out about, and everybody was buying sheds, and they had none. Somebody ordered this one and didn't pay for it, so it was the only shed they had, and I took it. So I figure if I'm going to get another shed, I want it to match. I don't want mix match stuff. We all know I like things to look nice, even though, you know, I live in the woods. That's just how I am. So the shed should be here this upcoming week. And then I can get all my stuff from the restaurant moved over here because I have no storage space in here because, as we know, it's just my bed, the couches, 4 big old dogs, these couches, and me. Talking about the restaurant. Everybody wants to know, has the restaurant sold? No, the restaurant hasn't sold. And what I was talking about in the previous Sunday Monday vlog for the title for being robbed, I got robbed this year. So it's been one heck of a year. I'll get to that in a minute. Give me a little bit more coffee first, because I'm not used to talking like I used to. So Colorado's done. That was the headache that I had. Between finding out that Colorado was going under, I was going to lose everything. I wasn't going to get any money out of Colorado. And I owed these loans, and I owed my credit cards and all that stuff. That was a bunch of stress. That got me started thinking about shutting the channel down. This channel, as many of you have heard over the years, started because dementia and Alzheimer's runs in my family. And I wanted something that possibly I could watch myself and maybe make things click in the future. Kind of like the movie Notebook. He would read to her about the past and it would click for a little bit of time. I never did this for channel views. I never did it publicly. It was private. And my family wanted to see what I do. And I didn't know you could send a link and still keep it private. So it went public and the channel has grown from there. So with all this going on with Colorado and the stress and not knowing what's going forward and the headaches and other stuff going on, I'm like, there's no point in really doing the channel. Plus, I also watch other homesteading channels and they do so many different projects. And I don't do sponsors. I don't do funding. I don't do anything like that. So I'm not going to have the biggest, newest tractor. I'm not going to be able to build a building here today, build a building there tomorrow, build a huge barn over here, and have, you know, $10,000 horses and things like that. Build a greenhouse and all that. I can't afford that. I do a lot for what I do compared to some people, but I'm rather poor compared to other people. And that's how it's going to be no matter where you are, unless you're the richest people out there. So my thought was, nothing's going right. I'm not going to have any money to build my house. I'm not going to have any projects to do. So what's the point of doing the YouTube channel? Because people want to see stuff. So that's why I shut the videos down back in the spring, and I didn't really make, I threw some videos out there, but I cut back severely. Well, in that time, I've had a lot of boomers out there and a lot of followers out there that are younger than me, which is hard to say because I'm used to being the youngest person, telling me that they still want Sunday, Monday vlogs and stuff because they like hearing somebody else's perspective, hearing what's going on in my life. I don't know why. It's not that exciting. I mean, there's some drama here and there, but not like some of these channels that every day, you know, it's staged, I think. But I'm not going to shut the channel down. I am going to come back with the Sunday, Monday vlogs. Because Colorado sold for way less and I paid all those debts to get me back out of credit card debt and everything like that. And I'm only able to do so much. Going forward, I'm not going to be able to do too many projects. I am going to do the gutters. I've had people asking why I haven't put the gutters up since I posted that. I just haven't. I've been working on Purdom Lane so I could get the different deliveries in here. Had the excavator out here. He came out, did a bunch of work. I put up some photos of that. Not doing editing videos quite yet. Eventually, I might get back to doing edited videos. But right now, it's going to be Sunday, Monday vlogs. So, with everything going on, I am going to be able to do some stuff going forward. I'll be able to do the gutters and have water here. I'm going to wait till spring to do running water because we're dead of winter right now. It's like 34 degrees outside. I'm going to be able to do the power station building. And then with my VA money, whatever I have left every month going forward until about June, I'm going to try to set a couple hundred or a few $100 to the side each month so I can buy concrete and rebar and stuff like that, get the power building built, and hopefully get the bathhouse built by next year. And then I'll have the gutters on both the sheds. The second shed should be coming in. I'll take some photos. I'll put that up once that gets up here, show you how I'm going to do that. And then the last bit of money from the ranch in Colorado, I bought $30,000 worth of fencing. So the fencing is coming in. They said it could be as late as January. So I might not see the fencing till January, but I'm getting T-post up. Put up some of those photos. And then that was Colorado. So going on to the next part. The restaurant. Restaurant has not sold. I've had one person look at it in person. There's people that look on Zillow, but it has not sold. Hopefully with the hopium that's going on right now and the markets are climbing and things like that, hopefully people start jumping back into real estate and I can get the restaurant sold this fall. I think it was back in September is when I got robbed. So I have cameras. I don't put my camera pictures up all over the place. Why? Because then everybody knows where your cameras are. You know, I would like to, because I have big bucks that walk in front of my gates and different parts of my fencing here that I would love to put up. But if I do that, then people know where your cameras are. So any of you that have cameras, when you put camera photos up, they automatically know where they are. So with that being said, I had cameras all around the restaurant, inside the restaurant, because I'm not living there. So what happens? It got broken into in the middle of the night, and a coward. Thieves are nothing but cowards. There's a lot of different cowards. This country is growing big in cowards that do things, you know, they don't have the balls to come up to your face and talk to you. They don't have the balls to come up to your face and say something and try to work things out. They got to do coward stuff, like breaking in places and all that. So I'm going to get into more of that drama stuff in a bit. But this coward decided to try to break into my neighbor's, pried all over her door, messed up the door frame and all that type of stuff. Couldn't get into their place, so went over to the restaurant, pried, and finally got in on the door that was over by the wood stove, because I hadn't put all the trim and secured all that. So we're talking, you know, an inch of wood that popped where the door lock was, and it wasn't that hard to break into. The other doors couldn't get in because it had deadbolts and everything like that. I just never had a deadbolt on that door, so it was just a little door lock, and it broke in. So he got in. He stole a bunch of my heavy-duty extension cords. I had like 100-foot heavy-duty one that's like $500-600 or something. Took every single extension cord I had. Took DeWalt cordless power tools, the DeWalt cordless battery packs, and some other stuff that I don't know. So several $1,000s worth of stuff got stolen out the restaurant. And that is why I'm buying the shed, and that's why the shed is coming, so that way I can get all that stuff over here and secured. Now, he not only as a coward, breaking in, being a thief for people that work and do stuff, you know, to get where they are, you know, and just steal people's stuff. But then he's also a dumbass because he left a lawnmower in there and the batteries for the lawnmower, cordless DeWalt weed eater and those batteries, circular saw and those batteries. He left probably $20,000 worth of stuff still in the restaurant that he didn't take, and he was there for over an hour and a half because I got him on all the different cameras, hopping over the fence where the water line is. You know, the fence is now bent over. You know, him walking around, you can see him prying on the damn door and everything in the one camera. Now, yes, I put photos up of the camera on the front porch. And you're going to say, hey, you just said don't put those photos up because people know where those cameras are. Well, only the cops had the photos of all the other cameras. I didn't put all the photos up because if he decides to go back, he'll avoid the front door, and boom, I got cameras other places. So that's the smart part from military and law enforcement, from me being in, is knowing CYA, cover your ass, and strategic, and OPSEC, whatever you want to call it. But anyhow, so got all that. He has not been arrested. This happened, I believe, the end of September. I don't know. It's all on my phone and stuff like that. He got arrested, whatever month it was that he broke and stole stuff out the restaurant. He was arrested earlier, the first week of that month. Then he was arrested and released a couple weeks after that, and then hit my place. So that's at least 3 places he hit in a month time, and he's still out walking free. And he's got warrants in all different counties here in Arkansas. He doesn't live in this county. He lives up in another county. I believe it's either Newton County or Boone County is where he lives. So, of course, as we know with the world, law enforcement doesn't do nothing anymore, and the court systems don't do anything anymore. Like I was told, they put a warrant out for him for Searcy County, but unless he gets stopped by a cop or something like that, he's out there every day, probably breaking into next person's place, stealing the next thing, instead of he should be warrant, arrest, go get him, put his ass in jail. He's 50 years old. He's got a long rap sheet, just a coward that continues to mess up people's lives and steal from people that work for their stuff and do things to get where they are in this life. I went from homeless to now I'm here on the homestead. Struggle and work to get where I am. And him, 50 years old, don't do nothing, just go out, rob and steal and everything like that. So that's the restaurant. Then, going forward, let's see what avenue I want to go through. Let me see if anybody's commented. No. Okay. So that was all that headache. The restaurant is still on the market. I re-signed because I only did, I think, a 3 or 6 month contract, so I just extended it, whatever it was. So like I said, hopefully I'll get everything out the restaurant. Right now, if somebody wants a restaurant, they have to give me 30 days before they can be inside of it, because I would need to buy a shed and get my stuff moved out. So if I have my stuff moved out, that contingency will be off of the restaurant, which that might open the door for more people that are interested, because most people, when they want to buy something, they want to move right in and get started. They don't want to have to wait 30 days or something, because they might have to sell their place and they have nowhere to go. So that should help me there. Once all that stuff gets moved over here, then, it's a vacant building, empty building. I really don't care at that point if there's break-in or something like that. I don't have the, I have to watch the cameras to make sure everything's safe over there and I'm not losing all my stuff that's over there. That's why I was hoping the shed be here this previous week, but with holiday weekend and stuff, it probably won't be till next week, or who knows, maybe week after. But I want to get my stuff over here as soon as possible, because it's a relief, like Colorado being sold. Something else I don't have to deal with. When the restaurant sells, that will be what gives me the money to build my house. So for all of those that have been asking or thinking, with Colorado selling, I'm going to build a house now. No. Until the restaurant sells, or until the house in Marshall, I get my money from that or whatever, then that will give me the money to build a house. Until then, it's living in the shed, which I'm not happy about, but I at least have my hot tub. Those of you that have asked questions with the hot tub, that have been asking, is it worth buying a hot tub? Has the rose-colored glasses worn off on the hot tub? Because people are thinking about getting it, but they think it's going to be like buying a pool, where you get all excited, use the pool a bunch, and then you don't use the pool. No, I am still in the hot tub every night, and I highly recommend for anybody living off-grid like me, or anybody that is doing a new home build or things like that, instead of taking bird baths or baby white baths like I did with the military and I was doing before I got the hot tub is amazing. To be able to hop in it every day in between working when I'm all sweaty and nasty, summertime, fall time, to in the evening, like when I get off here, I'm going to hop in the hot tub because I did some work today just to get all the gunk off. Then you put a little bit of shock in it after you're done, and it's got a whole 24 hours to kill everything, take all the grease out the water, any of the gunk out the water, and then you got fresh, clean bathing water, and you're not running through a lot of water. You're not Mickey Mouse. You can't be. I know you're dreaming over here kicking the camera. But being able to have something that has a filter and be able to clean, not have to haul water, don't have to do any of that. A hot tub is worth it in my opinion. I'm still in it at least once a day. Some days I'm in it a couple times a day. Some days, if my back's killing me, I'm in it 3 to 4 times a day. It all depends on how I feel. Wintertime, it's been really nice just sitting out there for a couple hours at a time. Because I can sit up on the edge, take all that cool air to the body. It feels so good. And then hop back into that hot water. And then come in here where it's nice and toasty. Heat. Everybody's asking how I'm staying warm in here. So, no, I don't have the wood stove. I had the blue flame heater that I talked about I was going to use. As you see, it's not plugged in or anything like that. It was way too hot. So I got this little tiny 1 burner propane thing. As you see, it's not on. I'm not using it. I've been on this video for what? 37 minutes. It's not on. It's cold to the touch. Haven't been using it. Chubbs is going to get in bed. But that's what I'm using for heat. Do I need it on? No. I did so well in insulating this place, minus the floor. I haven't insulated the floor of the shed. But I insulated and airtight this shed so well. All I got to do is like maybe 3 times a day. I click this on for 10, 20 minutes. And it's piping hot in the bed. And the heat stays in here for hours and hours, even with the dog door. And then I turn it off because it gets too hot. I'm going to buy a fan when I go to town so I can put a fan up by the bed to blow the hot air down and away from the bed, or a fan to blow on me because it does. It gets super hot in here. So that's my heat source, is single burner propane. That's all I need in here. If I had wood stove, I'd be dead. I'd be fried chicken. Let's see. The next topic. There's been so much stuff going on. Colorado was a big thing. That was the biggest stress over the whole. That's why I basically shut everything down. My purple top turnips that I talked about, that I planted back in the spring. I have no purple top turnips. No, it's not that they didn't grow. They grew. Got some issues going on. Got some drama and stuff happening. So, got people out here that decide to let animals roam free. And before I go into this topic, I'm going to go over generally some stuff. Not necessarily me, but different, some of you guys that have shared with me, and other things like that. So as a neighbor, since this is a neighborly nighttime chat, let's really make it neighborly and talk neighborly now. Anybody that has any questions or comments, you're more than welcome to comment now, because I'm going to bounce around to different subjects, so it doesn't matter if you guys want to comment now and ask any type of questions. I'll take them going forward as well. But I had somebody tell me that their neighbor kept parking on their property, and they asked them a bunch of time to stop parking on their property, and they didn't. So they started parking on their property. Well, they called the cops on them. So they said they didn't call the cops. They were just gonna do it their way. So the cops came out. They got a trespass warning for parking on their property. And since, of course, the other neighbors weren't still parked on their property, the cops didn't trespass the other people because they didn't have proof. We live in a modern day society. Like my great grandfather always said, 90% change is bad, only 10% good. So the good that comes with technology, we got cameras. As we know, I haven't, like I said, I don't show where my cameras are or the deer or different things I would like to share because I don't want to give up my OPSEC, operational security, of where all my placements are. But I catch people on camera on my property. I catch people's dogs on my property. I catch neighbors' pigs on my property. I catch neighbors four-wheeling on certain property. I catch trash being tossed out of vehicles as they drive down the road. I have all types of evidence. So I recommend to everybody out there, if you have bad neighbors, or even if you have good neighbors, put cameras out because you don't know who's going to be bad, who's going to be good, and when things can turn. Put cameras up. Use your phone to record. It's really good when you record conversations talking to people and you say you have a problem and they say to go ahead and dispatch that problem because they're out of state, or, you know, if it's aggressive, go ahead and dispatch it, because that gives you evidence. If anything goes forward or it turns into a feud, you know, Hatfields, McCoy's, or something stupid like that, then you have all the evidence on your side. So that's one thing I would highly recommend to everybody, is keep all that evidence, because I didn't do that in Colorado. Not to the extreme that I've done it now. Now, when I moved out here, I didn't have problems. Half a year out here, didn't have problems. A year out here, didn't have problems. Year and a half out here, didn't have problems. 2 years out here, I started having problems. These are, like I said, homestead channels, other channels don't discuss everything that goes on. But I had new neighbors that moved into the area that since they've been here, it's caused a lot of drama, a lot of headache, and it's slowly been escalating. But that's reason why I have so many cameras, why I have so much evidence, why I record phone conversations, because being ex-law enforcement, I know CYA, cover your ass, and it's evidence for court if it ever goes that far. Well, like I've told different people that have told me their stories, and I don't tell everybody, because I've had one of my subscribers on here, which now I am part of their category, is they told me, I think it was a couple years ago or something like that, they had put it on Facebook that their horse got shot. And they had an idea who it was, and the tea leaves were read, and the person, I don't know if ever got in trouble or got away with it or what have you. But that's one of the bad news that I got for everybody. So, Miracle the llama, somebody shot him through the fence, and he passed away Saturday morning. He got shot Friday afternoon. And it's not where one of my cameras were. And I don't have that proof. I wish I did. But I have an idea of who did it. I'm not going to make any accusations publicly, but I did talk to law enforcement because the sheriffs came out, and I said, and they asked who I thought might have done it, and I said who I thought might have done it, and that's because this certain group of people, neighbors that moved into the area, I have called and complained because they let their animals run, and I ended up shooting some animals on my homestead that ate all my purple top turnips, that I have photos of destruction of my fencing where my animals could start to get out. and rooting under my fence and digging on my driveway and things like that inside of my homestead. And they don't want to deal with taking care of the animals when I call. Like I said, I was told by the one to go ahead and dispatch it if I have an issue. And so they've done a whole bunch of Facebook stuff and things like that. And that's another great thing with technology. Screenshot everything, because if they end up trying to block you or they delete it, then it's gone. But if you have a screenshot of it, guess what? You still have it. So that's what has happened in this case. They've deleted everything that they had on social media, but I still have it. And if things go forward through courts, I have the evidence because I moved forward with the evidence. So unfortunately, I lost Miracle. That's the bad news with the animals. Good news, Big Mama had that little baby girl. I posted a couple of photos of her. She's doing well. Had her on the coldest day. It got down to like 24 degrees. I was scared because, as we know, I don't have an insulated barn or anything yet for the animals. Eventually, I'll get there. But that's that. So as a neighbor, being neighborly, like I said, until these new neighbors moved in, didn't have issues with these other neighbors. And now it's, a grouping or whatever you want to call it. Didn't have any problems. We talked. If they had a flat tire on the side of the road, I stopped and helped them change tires. I bought them a big water trough, one of the big round blue ones for their grandkids and all that type of stuff. He was buying a chainsaw from me, never paid me for the chainsaw, never, made a big deal about that. But being neighborly, if you move to an area and these neighbors say, oh, the goats need to be put up, they don't want them running free because they want their garden protected, and you put your goats up, and then a grandchild gets attacked by a peacock, and they call and ask you to take care of your peacocks, so you make a special pen and lock up the peacocks, and that was it that was asked. And then they have animals that are asked to be put up and they refuse to be put up. Well, you can't have your cake and eat your cake too. So going forward as neighbors, anybody out there, any neighbors out there, people are going to probably ask, well, geez, there's drama in Arkansas. Well, guess what? There's drama everywhere. And I can tell you, like I said, Home Free Alaska. Have nothing against the family. I love that family. I love watching their videos. Kellen, the kid that was semi-adopted to them for a little bit, I would be happy to have parents like that the dad takes you out fishing and does this for you and goes sledding with you and everything like that. But at the same time, I have no sympathy for them when they make a video talking about their neighbor shot their cat because they let their cats roam and go on other people's property. So this is what I'm talking about, neighborly. Being friendly, being neighbors. If you want something done to you, or you don't want something done to you, don't do it to that neighbor or do it to that neighbor. So if you want that neighbor to put their animals up because those animals are potentially pestering you, well, then you should put up your animals if a neighbor asks you. If, like one of you guys told me, if a neighbor doesn't want you parking on their land, well, you shouldn't go parking on their land. Even though you were doing a point, you could have done what the other neighbor did, made a phone call, had the cops come out, trespass, boom, that situation's taken care of. But you can't ask a neighbor to do something you're not willing to do. And I'll tell you another thing out there too. If you're going to be that type of person, like I said, have a pair of balls and talk to somebody, that's talking to somebody. If you're going to come up to somebody and start screaming and hollering and yelling and cussing in their face and spitting as you talk, I want the news, not the weather. I want sunshine, not rain. But if you're going to do that, remember, there are people out there that aren't going to tolerate it. I've been yelled at. I've been cussed at. I've had people chest bump me and all that type of stuff. And I keep my composure. But if it was my Uncle Joey, who I grew up with, that we were driving down the road one day and guy wants to cut him off and brake check him, my uncle got out the vehicle and whooped the dudes behind for him coming up to the vehicle yelling and cussing at my uncle. So just remember, if you're going to be one of those neighbors that are going to go up and get in somebody's face, be prepared. You know, yes, we're in different days now where not everybody acts like that and they're going to fight. But remember, there's always going to be some type of consequence, whether it's going to be them fighting you right there on the spot, or law enforcement getting involved later, or whatever else down the road. So going forward, I have no idea how this drama is going to play out. Like I said, I have all the evidence. I'm going to make a couple phone calls tomorrow. I'm going to do it the legal way. I've had different people I've talked to say this and do that. And these neighbors moving in and stuff, I've been warned by other neighbors around the area. There's other neighbors here that are now being affected in the same way that I'm being affected. There's some of them that have already made phone calls to different agencies. So I'm not going to be the only one making phone calls. But yeah, if you're going to be stupid, if you're going to try to have your cake and eat it too, and try to enforce all your ways on somebody else, but not do it the same way you want it done, then people are going to start taking legal avenues. So one of the big legal avenues that I'm going to end up taking is in Arkansas, it's illegal to knowingly have pigs out free, because they have a hog population here that's destroying government land here, and they're paying a lot of taxpayer dollars to try to eradicate pigs. And this is where technology comes in handy, because now that all these things have been deleted online, if I did a screenshot saying there are pigs, he's a murderer, he shot my pigs, you know, I got evidence now. So that's where evidence will come out and come in handy. So being neighborly, try to do what you can. If somebody comes up to you and says, hey, can you not park on my driveway? Just be a good neighbor. Move your vehicle onto your own land. If a neighbor comes up to you, like a neighbor came up to me here and said, hey, your goats are out. I don't want them to come destroy my garden because I live off and I survive off of the garden because I don't make that much money. Lock your goats up. If you have peacocks that attack a little grandkid walking back from the school bus, and the neighbor says something to you, don't get in their face and say, oh, I've let my peacocks fly all over here for 20 years and I'm not going to change just because you moved here. Be a nice neighbor. Make a pen, put your peacocks up. If you have kids and your kids are going over somebody's fence and dirt biking or whatever through their property, and they ask you to stop, talk to your kids. Stop your kids from doing it. There's too much stress and drama and negativity in this world to cause more negativity, stress, and drama upon your neighbors, because you choose where you want to live because you want to be in that area, and then to cause a bunch of drama and stress and all that, there's no point in it. So if a neighbor says, hey, do this, try to be neighborly. Now, at the same point, I'm going to tell you this too. If a neighbor's going to tell you to do this and do this and do this, and they won't do this and do this and do this, you don't got to put up with that either. So that's why I'm going to make some phone calls tomorrow and get things started, because these neighbors want to have me do all this stuff, but they're not willing to do the same. And it's not going to be bullying or whatever you want to call it. You know, they've already done the whole Facebook thing. For those of you that saw all the stuff that was on the YouTube channel, and those of you that didn't, there was a whole bunch of drama. Their kids went on my YouTube with different accounts, and they start posting all different stuff on my YouTube videos, all different videos. Had to go in, delete, had to go in, block all their accounts and stuff. I don't do all that. You know, if you look at my Facebook or my personal Facebook, I don't strew all the drama, even on these videos. This is one of the rare videos that I talk about, just like Colorado. Everybody wants that video on Fremont County on all the stuff I was going to air out. I never aired it out. I'm not airing everything out that I've been going through for the last 2 years since these neighbors moved in and started causing all this when they all bonded together and grouped up. This is some of it. And some of it's not even me. Like I said, it's other accounts that you guys have told me. I'm just throwing these different things out there that if you want good neighbors, be a good neighbor. If you're going to be a bad neighbor, be a bad neighbor. You know, if people have aggressive dogs and the dogs come after you and you continue to let your dogs roam and that person puts up cameras and catches your dogs on their property multiple nights, multiple months, multiple weeks, well, if it ever goes to court, you have that evidence. That's why I highly recommend throw some cameras up. Don't tell people where the cameras are. Don't post stuff all over Facebook showing, oh, this is my camera view, because guess what? Then that person knows where the camera is. Then they go a different place and they find a loophole. Be smart about it. Going forward, let's get away from the negativity. Going forward, what's going to happen? The different changes, things in the works. I'm going to have a big, New Year's new goal thing coming up January, and the end of year in review in December. Well, we're in December, or almost in December. So coming up end of the month. But going forward, the big goal is I have $30,000 worth of fencing coming, whether it comes this month or next month in January. I'm going to have a bunch of fencing put up that will help divert some of issues with neighbors, animals, and all that. I don't have kids coming on the property. I don't have neighbors coming on my property, so don't think any of that's me. At least these neighbors are good enough not to be coming on my property or doing that type of stuff. Some people, some stories I hear, bad. But I don't have that. So, but the fencing, all the fencing I can get up is just helping keep other neighbors' animals out. And it's not just the neighbors I'm having issues with here. It's other, people drop stray dogs. I got stray dogs coming on the homestead, no collars or nothing, showing ribs, all covered in fleas and stuff like that. It's not just these neighbors, that's anywhere. People drop dogs all over. You have neighborhood dogs that come into your property. So just protect your area. So that's one of the big things going forward. Trying to get up as much fence as possible. Because if you spend the money on the fencing, then you have even more case for courts or anything like that, legal action, because you're investing your money, your time into trying to stop the problem that people are still committing. So the fencing's happening. The shed, like I said, I'm hoping next week it will be here. If not, be hopefully the week after. Then I got to go get some totes from Home Depot, box all my stuff up at the restaurant, get all my stuff moved over here. Then that way I have all my stuff here. I don't have to worry about the restaurant. Laundry. I had some people asking about laundry. I'm going to town. I'm using the laundromat up in Harrison. I have no running water here. So that's another reason why I got the 2 cisterns, is because I need water to build the buildings with concrete. I would have to haul water from down below on the backside of the homestead from the water hole. But if I can have the water up here off of the 2 shed roofs, then that saves on wear and tear on the truck, gas, water pump, all that type of stuff. So trying to do what I can with what I have. Like I said, Colorado kind of screwed everything up, but it gave me a little step forward. I'm not able to do all the massive projects I want to do. but it gives me a little step forward to do some projects. I'm not going to have gardens and orchards and all that now because I didn't sell it for $500,000. But it gets me another step forward. After the fencing, after the shed, after moving everything, then I'm going to try to start saving up money, like I said, month by month, buy some concrete, buy some rebar, get the power building built. That's going to house my generator because the generator's outside and it's noisy. I don't like that loud noise going through the woods. Yes, I live out in the woods, but I'm sure other neighbors hear it, and I would like to have the generator inside a building so I can muffle the sound because that's part of being a good neighbor. Just like my shed up here, I put spotlights here on this end and spotlights here on this end. My neighbor's fence is this side. I can see their school bus over here. I did not put any light over there because even though I'm having issues with the neighbors over here, I want to be courteous. You know, I don't want them having big spotlights shining over into my area, and I have them set with motion detectors and all that stuff. So they come on when the dogs go out or I walk out, and it goes off as soon as they're done. The wind doesn't set them off, but rabbits and deer and stuff, they do set it off. But like I said, it's shining this way and it's shining that way. It's not shining that way to the neighbors. So that's another neighborly thing. If you want to be neighborly, if you want good neighbors or the least amount of issues with neighbors, think of these things. They didn't ask me to put a generator in a building. They didn't ask me to not put a spotlight up here. But that's common courtesy, common sense. You know, if going back to neighborly for a second, because I know I bounce all back and forth. You don't go out at 1 o'clock in the morning and blast music at 1 o'clock in the morning when people are trying to sleep. Whether you work night shifts or day shifts or graves or whatever, it's common courtesy to start. There's no noise restriction out here because there's no regulation out here. It's unrestricted land here where I am. So there's no noise ordinances. They don't blast music at 1 o'clock. So don't think I'm saying they're blasting music at 1 o'clock. I don't blast music at 1 o'clock. I'm just saying, if you want to be a good neighbor, don't do that type of stuff. If you're out there being a bad neighbor doing that, well, that's going to start causing issues. Same thing with spotlight. If you got a bunch of lights, try not to shine them at your neighbor's house. If you live in town, you're right next door to each other. Tilt it down a little bit. Make it nice. Be nice to your neighbor. Even if you hate the person. If you hate the person and you don't care, don't do it. Retribution is not the answer. Try to live in peace. Try to live, like I said, live happy, live free. That's the only way to be. I don't say live revengeful. I don't say live meaningly or anything like that. I say live happy. Be happy. Try to make things happy. So that's what I'm going to try to work on is the power building is going to be the next step. I want to get that generator inside there. Now, I don't run the generator a lot. Only time I run the generator is if we have more than 3 days of clouds. I don't have enough power storage here with my solar system. And I run it when I got to use the air compressor. I never run the generator late at night. It's always during the day or right at dusk. So it's before 8 o'clock at night. Once again, I could run it later. I could run it in the middle of the night, but that's not being neighborly. So don't do it. After the bathhouse, then I'm going to try to start work on the power building. I'm going to start working on the bathhouse because I tell you right now, going outside in 30-degree weather to go to the bathroom with this heater that was supposed to be out there in here, it sucks going to the bathroom out there. That's another thing about sacrificing to be where you want to be. Like I said, I don't live a glamorous life. I don't have a big 4-bedroom house. Eventually, I would like a big 2-bedroom house with a pool table so I got something to do during the summer. But I'm not there. So, it's a grind. You're not always going to have everything you want right away. And you're definitely not going to always have everything you want when you act like me and spend a lot of money in interest and loan payments and mortgage payments and everything else, scraping by. If you get everything up front, like a hot tub, like another shed, whatever little bit of money I have, I spend it. Going forward, too, once the power building's built, they had a huge Black Friday deal. They still have it going on at Signature Solar. I got another 6 batteries that I just put on my credit card. So, yep, my 2 credit cards are maxed out yet again. Back to paying interest. But I got 6 more batteries coming, another battery box, and I got a larger inverter because when the hot tub's running, the AC was running, and the freezer kicked on. It was too much draw for the small inverter that I have. It's a lot bigger than the small inverters, but for as much power consumption as I use. So I got a new inverter, 6 more batteries, another battery box. They'll be coming in. So when the power building's built, that will go out there. The generator will go in the other half of the building. And then that will give me enough power that I shouldn't ever have to run the generator, because that will give me like 6 days of no sun whatsoever. And even our cloudy days, we still get a little bit of sun. That will also give me my AC, hot tub, and all that without all this shutting down in here and going dark because it draws too much power. So that's as much as what's going forward. That's all the big projects I have happening. For those of you that want to know about the log splitter, I don't have the log splitter. The log splitter's gone. My neighbor stole my log splitter. His name is Steve. He stole my log splitter. No, he didn't steal it. I dropped it off down to him. Since he does mechanics, he does the solar, all that type stuff. He helped me put the log splitter together. I would have had no idea how to do the log splitter. I don't know mechanic work. I know I could YouTube it, but it's not something I want to YouTube. Same thing with solar. I'd rather have somebody that's better knowledge at that. The log splitter's down at his place because he's splitting wood that he's had stacked up. I ran it for like 5 or 6. No, I think it was only 3 or 4 logs that we split when we first tested it out. It's a beast. It is a beast. It looks small, but it's got so much strength to it. And I'm not going to get into firewood right now, but all the logs that I have, I am going to probably January, maybe February, probably maybe even out to March. I'll get the splitter back from him so I can split the wood that I have all over. And then I'm going to try to do a little side firewood business where I'm going to have a sign up at the front of the homestead. Make some racks of wood, and then that way I can sell some wood. That will help get me a little bit extra money to cover the chainsaw chains, the bar oil, the gas that I use to cut all the trees so I can continue doing the work here on the homestead, and give me a little extra money to buy some extra concrete to work on the buildings, and then going forward buying some more fencing, eventually a barn, the house, the gardens, greenhouses, and an orchard. It's going to be a ways out, but I'm going to get there. The concrete mixer, I've had a couple people ask me how that works. I haven't used it yet. All I've seen is YouTube videos because I don't have the money for concrete right now. I don't have money to buy the rebar, so I can't start building the buildings. So can't run a concrete plant mixer if I don't have concrete. So hopefully I'll use it this coming spring. I will be using it this coming spring because I'm going to set money aside each month. So that's just tarped up right now. Solar, everybody's asked about solar. Solar has done awesome. Steve knows what he's doing. The only issue that I had, and it's not because of Steve, it's because of me, and that is my whole system shut down. The inverter, everything. Everything goes dark when the AC was running, the hot tub was running, and the freezer would kick on. that freezer pulls like 1200 watts or something. The AC's a couple thousand watts. The hot tub's couple thousand watts, and it's only a 6,000 watt inverter. So 3 of them, and lights, radio or whatever, phone chargers, toothbrush charger, everything, it all popped. So that's not Steve's fault, because Steve told me I only got so much power, and I can't be an energy hog unless I want a big system. So the solar's done good. Now that I don't have the AC unit in the window, I haven't had any shutoffs because all my stuff combined isn't enough to take that off. But come summertime, when I got AC running 24/7, I'll have that issue again, but I'll have the new inverter. So solar's done good. Hot tub's plugged in 24/7. A lot of people said I'm not going to be able to run a hot tub 24/7 on solar. I didn't think so either. But it does. It runs 24/7, 104 degrees. It's beautiful. It's awesome. I'm jumping in it after this video. Rest of the animals, besides losing Miracle, like I said, dogs are doing good. Max is all healed up. You know, his arm's got a nasty scar, but the hair's starting to grow over that. The only baby I've had since spring is the new little girl that Big Mama had, the silver zebu cattle that I have. Birthing season's coming. All the goats are starting to plump up, and with cold weather coming, I know all the goats are going to start popping, which is going to irritate me because I know I'm going to end up having some losses like always. But it's not always a loss, because anything that dies on the homestead, for those of you that don't know how homesteads work or want to know how homesteads work, if you have hogs, which I do, in a fence pen, so they're not out roaming, they dispose of stuff. They're the natural garbage disposal. So if I do end up losing baby goats, if it's not warm, because I have some of my goats that pop babies in the spring when it's hot, and then you got flies and stuff like that. If it's during the winter time and they're frozen, the dogs over here, the dogs get a meal. If it's warm season, or you know, I don't want to risk giving it to the dogs, then they go to the hogs. That's what I know a lot of you probably don't want to hear, but that's, you know, I don't have equipment to dig a hole to bury animals. So with Miracle, unfortunately, that's where Miracle went. But fortunately, that saves a lot of money on feed. Like I said, I spend $2,500 a month on feed, and 500-pound animal to the hogs. That saves a lot of feed bill. So it's not the happiest thing to think about, but it's the life cycle. Animals been living and dying on this planet since the planet was created or erupted, or whatever you want to say. And we all do too. We live, we die, we go back to the earth and go back into the soil and into grass and into bugs and bugs to birds and whatever. And it just keeps, it's the life cycle. It's the food chain. And then the pigs will poop that out, and that fertilizes the ground, and that will let weeds and other things, grasses and trees grow. And then the goats eat the trees, and they poop and they fertilize, and it just continues the cycle. But it's been a long, stressful spring. It's been a really rough summer. Fall, back and forth. You know, a lot of people want to know why I don't get so emotional with animals. Only once in a while, like with Chunky Monkey. When I lost Chunky Monkey, that was really hard. Is because I went through desensitization training for what I did in the military. And then being a cop, you see stuff all the time. So just like paramedics, you see somebody's head split open 20 times a month, or somebody shot 20 times a month, or stabbed 20 times a month. It's nothing. You get used to it. You know, just like they say with the violent video games for kids. You know, you see the violence, then you tune the violence out. Same thing with scary movies. Movies that I grew up with that are scary are nothing compared to stuff nowadays because they show you everything nowadays. So, I don't know. It's back and forth. Like I said, I don't share everything. I still haven't shared everything. There's a lot of other drama stuff that happens. I just aired some of it because it's been aired through their Facebooks and things like that. And I've got evidence, so it doesn't bother me. They can post whatever they want to post because I've got the photos, I got the video recordings, I have the phone conversation recordings. Same thing with, like in Colorado. Some of the people that I went to court with over in Colorado, I went to court with evidence. They had to pay my legal fees. They had to pay my attorney fees. So that's one of the benefits of technology is if you CYA, cover your ass, it works in your favor. But like I said, it's easier to be nice and try to work things out than try to make things worse. But you can't be walked over. You can't be trampled on. At some point, you got to stand up. You know, if you've got, I know a lot of you out there probably gone through this. If you've got chickens, neighbor dogs are the #1 killer of chickens, besides chickens being stupid and killing themselves. But you see it on Facebook all the time. How many times the same neighbor's dog comes over and kills your chickens? Well, how much money do you want to be out before you take care of the issue that somebody else doesn't want to take care of? And that's where, like I said, try to be the best neighbors you can, try to fix what you can, but at some point, you got to eliminate the threat, or you're working every day for money that is being thrown away because as you buy the next chickens and the same dog comes over and kills your chickens again, you're just wasting money. So at some point you got to figure out, you know, you got to stand up. And in Arkansas, and just like in Colorado, if something is destroying your crops, if something is imminent threat to your bodily person, if a dog's trying to attack you, if something comes in and tears up your cornfield, if somebody has cattle and you have food plots and the cattle come in and tear up your food plots, if you have a nursery and you sell little plants and your goats go into that nursery and destroy all their plants, you have the right to protect your property. So I know a lot of people don't want to do that. I know a lot of people aren't desensitized to be able to do that. But just like with me, like I told the law enforcement when they came, that I shot the neighbor's pigs because they tore up my fence, tore up my driveway, they ate all my purple top turnips. So all the money I spent in seed, down the drain. All the purple top turnips, which are like $1.99 or whatever at the grocery store for all the hundreds of purple top turnips. And we know, I've showed pictures with me and Carla holding all those big, beautiful purple top turnips that grow here. Because I got the right way to grow them. They were going to the animals. They would have fed me. That's money down the drain. So you got to make a decision. If you talk to your neighbors and they refuse to take care of the situation, and you talk to the neighbors and they tell you to take care of the situation yourself because they're out of state, and they continue coming over and continue coming over, and they destroy more and more, then at that point you got to take it into your own hands and take care of the situation. Now, yes, I could have taken one more step. I could have called the cops and done that. But in my mind, I try to make the cops the last situation. I try to make legal stuff the last situation. I try to do all that as the last thing. Why? A lot of you are probably wondering, why does he not want to call the cops? Why does he not want legal issues? Why? Because I believe in trying to be neighborly. If a neighbor asks me to do something, as long as it's not, I don't want you to have a black vehicle because black looks bad out here. Or I don't want you to have a bright red vehicle because we live in the woods and we want it camouflaged or something like. If it's something stupid, I'm not going to do it. But if it's something like I said, my neighbors asked me about the goats before I had all the fencing up. I would bring them outside the fencing. They would roam around a little bit. I had no problem doing that. But we all know what happened in Colorado. The north side of Cotopaxi. Not the south side of Cotopaxi. Never had any issues with neighbors on south side Cotopaxi. Loved all my neighbors. Loved the community. Like I said, one of the neighbors even adopted me and took me in for 3 months from my hobo tarp tent until I got better and until I had a dried-in structure. Fed me, did laundry and everything. Never charged me a penny for any of that. Later on, years down the road, when I was financially better, I did a little something for them, which they didn't want to accept, but they had to accept because they didn't find out about it until they were home. Long, long ways away from Colorado. But that's the thing. That's just how I am. You do good for me, I'm going to do good for you. You do something nice for me or try to help me out, then I'm going to help you in the future. That's another reason why I get taken advantage of a lot. But if you're not willing to do something, then, don't ask somebody else to do it. I totally lost where I was going with that because I've talked for an hour and 21 minutes and my mind's all over the place. I've got so many things going on. But yeah, so going forward, we'll see where things go. Hopefully the drama stops. Hopefully the fencing comes in. Hopefully the shed comes in. And I'm going to get on to watching this show. I'm going to tell you, there's a new show out. It's called Landman. That's what I'm watching before I started the Sunday Monday vlog. It's about oil rigs and stuff like that. Never thought I would ever enjoy the show. It's got Billy Bob Thornton, which I do not like him at all. I actually like him in this series, and I actually like this TV show a lot. And unfortunately, knowing that I really like this TV series, they're going to probably end up canceling it. They cancel everything I end up liking. But yeah, so I'm going to enjoy watching my TV. And after I watch this, I'm going to go hop in the hot tub, enjoy the hot tub, get clean from working today. And I hope everybody's having a great holiday season. I know I didn't really do much of a Thanksgiving thing. I did go out to a restaurant in Harrison for dinner. Kind of disappointed they didn't have turkey. I got ham, but I like ham on Christmas. I like turkey for Thanksgiving. Don't have a kitchen, can't cook. Don't have running water, can't do dishes. But yeah, I hope everybody's been doing good. I hope people that have been telling me about their drama situations, I hope their dramas clear up. I hope Christmas is good. I really wanted Christmas lights. I had planned to decorate Christmas lights outside the shed. But I decided to spend the money on more important things than buying outlet boxes and wiring and all that to be able to have the lights outside the shed. So for me, it's a little bit sad because I really wanted Christmas lights here. So this will be the first year in a while that I haven't decorated, because I decorated at the restaurant all the years I lived there. When I lived with Carla and Marshall, we decorated. Yeah, so it's going to be a sad kind of Christmas this year for me. But going forward, I know, I'm making some progress. I'm going to be doing a lot next year. Now that I don't have debt payments and mortgage payments with Colorado and all that, that's less money going to bills. So that will give me a little extra money to go towards building next year. And probably going to be, if the restaurant doesn't sell, probably going to be a couple years of saving before I can start on the house. But but we'll see how things go. So I hope everybody enjoys their night. Thank you for a lot of you I see been staying in here for almost this entire video. I appreciate the thumbs up and thanks. The comments I got earlier, I see it. I haven't got any others. I know a lot of you aren't commenting because I guess you just want to hear all the stuff that's been going on. I try not to do drama. I try not to air neighbor stuff. But like I said, they aired it weeks ago. So, you know, to just go over a bit of it, like I said, I'm not covering everything that's happened. But just like in Colorado, I said some stuff that happened with neighbors, but I didn't tell anybody. 99% of all the stuff I went through, the hatred and all that in Colorado. That's why my breakdown video, my last video of where I broke down in the video, it's just, they told me day one, you're not wanted here because I didn't have money. And then I was told I was going to be run out within 30 days. And they had to put up with me for 3.5 years because I don't just cave. So don't think I'm moving out of Arkansas. I'm not moving out of Arkansas. And as cold as this can be, because I've had a couple of people that I've been talking to said, what happens if the so-called coward that shot Miracle through a fence on the homestead, not out on somebody else's property, and the hogs that I shot were inside my property. I have photos inside my property with them. I have evidence. You know, he was on his own land, inside his own fence, and we all know Miracle doesn't bother nobody. To be cowardly enough to come up to a fence and shoot an animal through the fence. I've had people ask, what happens if he's just the first? It may sound cold, but even if all the animals are gone, right? Let's just say all the animals are gone, which I don't want them to be gone. But if all the animals are gone, I love my animals. I love my animals. I love my animals. But if they're all gone, they're still not getting to me. Why? Because they just saved me $2,500 a month in feed bill. I know that may sound cold, but that is where I am mentally in my mindset. Yes, I love my animals. Yes, you know, that killed me to see Miracle that way and to lose Miracle over the night. But guess what? That's one less mouth I have to feed. That's little more money I have towards getting to my bigger goal. So I know it may sound cold, but if you're in that mindset where people can't get to you no matter what they do, like I said, if somebody comes up cussing, spitting, yelling in your face, if it don't get to you, then it doesn't bother. If somebody does something like that, they're still not getting to you. So they're still not winning. Just like the people in Colorado. How many times? Oh, that's where I was. That's where I was. Let me get one sip of coffee. It came back to me. Where I was going. When I said, why I make law enforcement or legal avenues the last resort is because of the people in Colorado. We saw the cops were called out 42 times. The animal control was called out all those times. Code enforcement was called out about a dozen times. Zoning and enforcement was called out twice. And the USDA was called out. That's why I shut down the petting zoo. Because the USDA wanted me to segregate all the animals into separate pens and all that when they all lived together all that time. But that's why. That's why I wait for calling law enforcement or doing any legal action as the last resort. Because that's the worst thing in the world to have cops called on you over and over and over and over. And what sucked out there was that they were all in a clique with the legal with the courts and all that. So I wasn't able to do anything. The sheriffs would investigate for me, but the courts wouldn't take any cases because they knew them. But anytime they tried to take me to court, I had all my documentation. I had my videos from my game cams. I had photos from my game cams. I had photos from other cameras. I had all the conversations recorded. So every time I went to court, even though they knew the courts, I paid for lawyers. So the lawyer is not going to let them do that, because then it would go up the chain through the courts, and then those DAs and stuff like that would be getting in trouble. And for any of you that are dying to know all the stuff I wanted to air in Fremont County, and all the stuff I said I was going to make a video and I was going to release a video as soon as the ranch sold, and now that the ranch is sold, I don't like drama. So that video is not coming out. I am not airing everything out that happened in Fremont County and the stuff about Fremont County. But for those of you that are dying to know, I highly recommend you go to Google, go to Brave browser, go to Chrome, go to Firefox, go to whatever search browser you want to use, and type in Fremont County, Colorado headline news stories. And you will see a bunch of the DAs are under investigation. Some of the sheriffs are potentially getting in trouble. There's a new thing with some of the prosecutors in Fremont County. So you don't need me to tell you any of the horror stories of Fremont County. You can Google it yourself. You can Firefox it yourself. You can Brave browser it yourself. Go and see all the stories, the cover-ups, all the prosecutors and DAs that did not do certain things in some cases and did certain things in other cases, because if you're part of this clique, they did this, and if you're part of these people, they did others. You can find all that out on your own. But that's the reason. Also, growing up, watching other neighbors, the cops here, cops there, cops here, cops there, cops here, cops there. I don't like it. I want to live in peace. I don't want twice a week, knock, knock, knock. You know, sheriff's department, we got called out to your place for this. Animal control, we got a call that you don't feed your animals. Animal control, you haven't fed your animals again. Yet I have all this feed sitting on the ranch in Colorado. All this feed. Well, we don't have animal control in Arkansas, here in our county, Searcy County, Arkansas. So the neighbors out in Colorado, they try to bring the drama to Arkansas. When I first moved here, they talked to our county judge. They talked to Kenny Castle, our sheriff here, and they tried to stir stuff up for me here in Arkansas after I moved to get away from them, after them having to put up with me for 3.5 years. And they were shot down because the authorities here don't put up with this bullshit. Excuse my French through all this, but it's real feeling. That's why it's, I guess it's not a friendly, or no, I put neighborly. So if I would have put friendly, it'd be different. But yeah, so those are things to think about. Try to make the legal stuff as far out as possible. Try to talk to your neighbors. If you have a problem, talk to them. Ask them if they will address the situation. If they don't address the situation, you can either A, try to address it yourself, like I decided to do, or go to law enforcement first, and then if law enforcement doesn't work, then take care of it yourself the way I did legally. I'm not saying do anything illegally. My family spent a lot of time in jails and prisons and penitentiaries. I am not going to be one of them. So I took 2 years of law. So I know basic law. I don't know, I'm not a lawyer. Oh, wow. Somebody just Somebody gave me a $5 super chat and nothing popped up in the chat. I just out of the corner. Let me see. Give me. Is everybody still here? Oh, that's stupid. YouTube changed their thing. So it took me out. I have a bunch of stuff on here. I apologize, for going out. YouTube changed it. They blocked the chat, and when I hit it, it took me out to a different screen. Norman gave me a $5 super chat. I appreciate that, Norman. And Norman's got some stuff. Feed your dogs. Love your enemies. Arkansas will kick your ass if you mess with it. We the people who runs this country, we do. Canadian. Norman, I appreciate that. So I appreciate the $5 super chat, Norman. So if anybody chats, I got it. But like I said, with everything going on, and Norman threw me off yet again with his super chat, because I don't even know where I was. But yeah, if you want to know about Fremont County, go Google that. There's plenty of stuff that's happening. A whole bunch of their court systems being investigated by Denver and things like that. Norman, I appreciate you too. I appreciate all the super chats over the years. And I appreciate seeing all those lovely dogs on Facebook when I pop up and your post pops up and I see your dogs. But yeah, so all that happened out there. That's why I try not to do that. And if I do anything, back to the hogs. Oh, nothing nuts. Okay. But with the pigs, I didn't call law enforcement because, like I said, I've called them. I've asked them multiple times. They haven't taken care of it. So what do? I can either talk to my lawyer that I have here because I have an ongoing legal thing going on, which I'm not going to talk about because, like I said, it's an ongoing thing. I've got about $6,000 spent so far with legal fees to my attorney. So I've got an attorney that if I'm going to do something, like I said, I'm not going to be stupid about it. I'm not going to go on Google and say and believe everything Google says. I'm going to deal with a lawyer that has the experience, has the knowledge that can do it. So I can talk to a lawyer, and lawyer says in Arkansas, you can protect your farm, you can protect your gardens, you can protect your livestock, you can protect your kids, you can protect yourself, and you can protect your personal property from damage and destruction and everything else. So since legally I'm in the right, neutralizing the hogs that continue to come over here and destroy my land, destroy my driveway, eat my crops that are costing me money for the seed that I buy, and now I have no purple top turnips to feed me, no purple top turnips to feed the animals, which come with a bunch of nutrients and minerals and stuff that they need that now I have to buy. Then at that point, I took it into my own hands. And I've just, after being law enforcement and living in a neighborhood growing up and then living on the north side of Cotopaxi, Colorado, and having the neighbors call constantly, it's just, I don't want to deal with law enforcement. I don't want to deal with courts. I don't want to deal with lawyers. Even though I win, I've lost one case, and that's because I tried to do it myself. And that was against the fencing company at the ranch that stole stuff off my property. I didn't know all the legal stuff, and they had a good attorney, and the attorney raked me over coals, and I ended up owing them like $4,000 for them stealing my stuff because of unpaid time or what have you. So that's why I hire a lawyer. So when all the neighbors started all the stuff out there and took me to court, I have a lawyer and I have all the evidence, and they have to pay my legal fees. They have to pay all my expenses because when you win, you get all that stuff paid for. And a benefit with me that I got in the fence company lawsuit was, with me being a disabled vet, I get free legal papers and court fees and all that. So I don't get assigned, like, the court costs I didn't have to pay against the fence company because I'm exempt being that way. Um, the legal documents that I had to file, it's like $5 a sheet or whatever. I'm exempt from that. So when all those different times they try to take you to court, they thought they were going to cost me money time after time taking me to court. Well, guess what? It never cost me money because I didn't have to pay any of that from being a disabled vet. And then on top of that, if they would have won anything, my sole income is my VA pay. Well, as a federal pay, it can't be garnished, so they could never get anything from me if they ever won a case. They never won a case against me because I recorded their conversations when they come up to my gate yelling at me. Recorded their conversations when they called me and said different things. I buy the high definition game cam. So for those of you that follow Facebook and saw the pictures, I don't know if I put it up on today's Homesteader. It might have just been my personal. So I might throw up a photo or two after this in a post so you guys can see. Norman, I'll get with you in 1 second. But I buy high quality game cams. I got tattoos. You know, you can see the burglary tools in his pocket. Inside, you can see all the stuff he was going through with his flashlight. You can see him climbing over the fence. You know, I buy good quality stuff. The game cams, though, I didn't have set to camera mode or to video mode at the restaurant. I only had it on camera mode because there's cats that go through over there, and they set it off, and the video would go on for 30 seconds, and then a cat comes back through another 30 seconds, and it's nonstop notification. But in Colorado, I had the game cams, had it set to video, and as they come up to the fence, throwing stuff over the fence to make animals sick, well, I had all that on video. I had all the pictures, I had all that type of stuff. So I never discussed all that in Colorado, that neighbors try to harm my animals and things like that. It's not a first. So Miracle being shot is a first, but somebody to try and do something against the animals is not a first. But that happens to a lot of people. Let me see what Norma says, and I'll get back to it. The U.S. freaked out. I think Shakespeare said, the law a horse's ass. Like how Johnny Pack and former Boy Scout always be prepared. Well, Norman, it's not, you know, Boy Scouts, yes, that helped me some of always being prepared for different situations, but the biggest thing was all the training. The military put just over $1 million worth of training into me. So I went through survival school, I went through E&E school, which is escape and evade. I did, I can't even think of all the acronyms. I did a form of SEER, but it wasn't the SEER where you get patch. I never got a patch. If you go through airborne and SEER and all that type of stuff, if you go through the entire course, I've gone through parts of courses, but if you go through to officially graduate, then you end up patching. I never patched anywhere. If I didn't get medical out, that was the avenue I wanted to go, which was Phoenix Ravens, which is the black ops of the Air Force. I did do some training at Dover Air Force Base to do Phoenix Ravens. Love you, Johnny. Let's do a road trip to Vegas gambling. Norman, you don't know me too well. Gambling is not good for me. That's some of the bad stuff in my family. The drinking, the drugs, the criminal side, and gambling. And drinking, I could probably still drink. Never got hangovers or anything like that. Never really got sick. I can remember everything. Anytime I drink, I never get blackout or anything like that. And then gambling. I love Texas Hold'em. That's my number one thing. And luckily, the closest casino to me is Little Rock, Arkansas. And that's 2.5, 3 hour drive, something like that. I'm not sure exactly how far it is. But I haven't gone. Why? A, I have no money. And B, because I don't want to get back in that habit. Although this fall I started watching Poker After Dark again, that I haven't watched in years. And I've got the bug to go start playing poker because I love playing poker. You're drinking now, military training. You might be under control. Oh, so that's where the super chats come from, Norman. You sit there drinking and you're drinking tipping. You're tipping the host of tonight's entertainment, I guess. I appreciate it, Norman. But no gambling for me. No trips to Vegas. I spent way too much going to Vegas before when I went out there. $600 poker tables. Oh yeah. I play no limit tables, Norman. So where you can have thousands and thousands on the table. And that was back when I had my businesses. Best and West Incorporated long time ago. And I still get phone calls. I still get Angie's List and all that. People still call me all these years later. And I haven't had those companies since 2011. Because I had such high ratings and 5-star reviews and all that type of stuff. But I've been on here long enough. It's an hour and 46 minutes. Unless a bunch of you have a lot of questions right now. I've got no problem staying a little bit longer. So I'll give you guys a minute or two if you want to type in comments or anything, questions on what's happening. Any questions you have, including you, Norman. Any odd questions you might have. Coffee's already starting to get cold. Or it is cold, I should say, not starting. But overall, the moral of tonight's story, my grandma is from Arkansas. Well, see, Norman, you should move to Arkansas then. You can be another neighbor. But the moral tonight is basically just try to be nice, try to live happy, try to be a good neighbor, try not to have drama. I hate drama. I try to stay as far away from drama as possible. And like a couple of people say, I tend to be a magnet for drama. I'm not the one that causes it. I'm not the one driving on people's property. Nobody's driving on my property. I'm just throwing different scenarios out there. You know, four-wheeling on my property, other people's property, you know, all that type of stuff. You know, I stick to my land. I want to be on my land, do my thing. I don't want my animals killed over here. I don't want my peace taken away. I don't want people over here. You know, that's why I don't go out all the time. I have people that, including the guy that does all my excavation and stuff that I'm paying for. He invited me to Thanksgiving dinner. And I didn't go. I went to a restaurant in Harrison. Why? Because I sat in a booth by myself. I had the server stop by, say, hi, my name's so-and-so. Do you need anything? Happy Thanksgiving. And she took off because there's a million different people there. That's the only person I had to talk to. And then talk to the cashier at the door to pay my bill. Only 2 people. I know a lot of people think I'm sociable. I know a lot of you out there text me and call me. And I'll tell you, I owe a big thanks to this community. For all of you out there, for those of you, I don't even know if you're here anymore. If you're still here, I'll put it that way. Because I know a lot of people got butthurt. A lot of people got upset. Because I said, I'm not talking 7 days a week to you. 6 hours a day to you. Or messaging 90 times in a day. I can't handle all that. You know, like the big channels, the big YouTube channels, which I hope I never get to become a big channel because that's more headaches than I even want to deal with. And that comes with a lot of drama because then you got people around the world coming out, knocking on your front door because they're like, oh, I follow you on YouTube. And so yeah, I don't want that. But like they say, they have so many comments they can't get to comments. Well, that's how it is with the social aspect, because people have my phone number on YouTube because I put it out there. I don't care. I'll talk to somebody. You know, I've had people call me because they're on the edge, you know, down in the dumps, and they know from my suicide video that I've been there. I've tried it. I survived it. You know, I'm still going. You know, I had people, boomers, that called me. Not saying everybody's boomer, but some boomers called me that their husband has passed away. Their wife has passed away. And they're lonely. They just want somebody, they have nobody else to talk to. And all they could think was to call me because I put my number on YouTube. And I've said before, if you want to talk, I got no problem talking. They don't know me, and they just call and talk to me because they're lonely. Well, if you have 100 people calling you a day and 100 people texting you a day, I don't have that many calling and texting. But a bunch of people got butthurt because I stopped responding to text messages and stuff, or it took me a week to get to it because I would have 90 messages from them before I responded. And that's because I don't want to talk every day. I don't want to be on a phone all day. That's why the YouTube, I really don't want to do YouTube except to document my life for me. Being selfish for me because I don't like technology. The only technology I like is right there. Up there. That and listening to music. And yes, I'm listening to Christmas music already. Norman says, so much to be thankful for. Count your blessings, not your problem. God bless Arkansas Hillbilly. Norman, you're wrong. You're wrong. Yeah, AK is Alaska. And you spell Alaska wrong. It's AR for Arkansas, for those of you that don't know. Everybody puts AK. I don't know why. But yeah, since nobody else has any questions and nobody else is chiming in besides Norman. I do love Norman. Especially because he throws out them super chats. And gets the dog's chicken legs. And I'll do a video on that. I'll try. No, I don't have any chicken legs right now. But next time I go to town, I'll get a bag and I'll do a video here with the dogs eating chicken legs because I know everybody likes it. And I'm surprised none of them are perking up with me saying that word because, well, I don't say excitedly right now. If I said it with excitement, they all pop up. But I'll do a video coming up with them next time I get chicken legs, and I know everybody likes seeing them. Another big plus going forward, before I get out of here, is the fencing I'm doing. The solar panels are over here. Like I said, my neighbor's over here. I can see their bus. The solar panels are there. I showed pictures of the fence around the solar panels. The fence is going to come here and come around to the back side of the shed. And then my house is going on this side. So I'm going to be extending the dog pen so the dogs will have more space to actually run and not just an area to go to the bathroom. The panels are like $63.50 a panel for these heavy duty panels that I'm buying. I'm changing all my fencing out. And I'm going to be able to do some live streaming. Special live streaming that I said I wanted to do when I had my house built. I'm going to start doing that hopefully this upcoming year. Don't hold me to it because we all know things change. But this fence for the dog pen is going to also be the fence for the animal pen. I've decided I'm going to shut down today's Homesteader Lane. And the animal pen is going to go from the front of the homestead all the way up here to the back side of the shed. Now it's going to be a little bit out. But the animals will be able to come up. I'm trying to decide if I want to have the goats in or not. I'm actually thinking about separating the goats because they like to strip trees, and I don't want all my trees stripped on the trees that I like. And I also like having trees up here. But I want to get it to the point where I can have a loaf of bread and carrots and peppermints and Cheez-Its. No, if I don't have the goats, I don't want the Cheez-Its. But get it where the camels, the donkeys, the cattle will all come up here, the Zorse, and I'll be able to live stream and maybe start doing a live stream, um, once a week or something like that called Snack Time. And I'll be able to live stream and they'll get used to getting snacks every time I'm there. And you guys will be able to start seeing the animals. And then, like I said, eventually, when I get the house built, then I can have a camera set up 24/7, and then you can see the animals as they come up back and forth and things like that. So all different ideas. I appreciate it. I hope you're blessed too, Norman. No, but 6 80-pound labs. Oh yeah, I see your dogs all the time on Facebook. Yep. Yep. Nothing like a good Anatolian, right, Mickey Mouse? Yep. They're good dogs. So with that, like always, thank you again for everybody that watched all this time. Thank you, Norman, for the $5 super chat, for all the thumbs up that a bunch of people gave, the comments. I hope I answered all the questions. As you hear, my voice is now crackling. I'm not used to live streams anymore. Probably not going to have voice for a couple days. If anybody has any other questions, put in a comment after this video is uploaded or whatever. Be a good neighbor. Be friendly. Be happy. Try to solve stuff without calling the cops all the time. Sometimes people don't know. If you sit a trash bag on the curb and it's 2 inches over on your neighbor's property, why call the cops over that? Just tell the neighbor, hey, it's on my property or something. Not that they're going to fix it, because 2 inches, what's 2 inches? But benefit of the doubt. Don't be like the neighbors in Colorado. Hey, Michael, how you doing? But don't be like the neighbors in Colorado that sit there and call the cops over and over, that call code enforcement over and over, animal control over and over. When I was a cop, I had to go to a bunch of those calls. And you always know it ain't worth it. Because you're going to that call and you're like, awesome, Michael, I'm glad to hear that. But it's, you don't want to deal with it as a law enforcement officer, because if you got to go to the same place 10 times a month for a call, that is pointless. You still got to do it because you're on the clock, and it's stupid. The only benefit for code enforcement, animal control, and Fremont County sheriffs in Colorado coming out all the time was they got a break from the city and they got to see the animals. And like animal control, they go in the pen and they love on the camels and love on the baby goats and things like that. So they got a benefit out of it. But try not to do that. Try not to waste the time of law enforcement for stupid stuff. Try not to waste going to court over petty, stupid stuff. Just try to be good neighbors. Just try to work it out, make it happen. If not, then do what you have to do. But like I said, do legally. If you're in a state that doesn't allow you to protect your animals or gardens or whatever from a neighbor's dog, do not dispatch your neighbor's dog, because then you're going to be in trouble. If that neighbor dog comes in your yard every night, put up a camera. If you don't want to put up camera and you see it through the window, boom, you got a cell phone, take a picture. That's evidence. Happens 6-7 times, you got evidence building up. Dates, stamps are on every picture. Then that shows it's not just one time. It's time after time after time. Build your case the smart way. In the meantime, try to work it out as a good neighbor. If it gets to that point, then at that point you have all your ducks in a row. You have all the legal standing. Then don't be stupid like I was with that fence company. Don't go in without a lawyer. Get a good lawyer. Lawyer that knows what they're doing. The lawyer I have here in Arkansas for the situation I'm dealing with right now, not with these neighbors, but another situation, he's the lawyer for another town. So he is that town's lawyer. So he's been in it a while, and he knows all the legal standings and stuff like that. So do your research. Like I said, don't trust Google for everything. It's worth spending $150 to talk to a lawyer and ask the question. Some charge more. I know 150 doesn't sound like much for a lawyer because a lot of them are $400 or $500 to talk to you. But out here, as long as you got a lawyer on a retainer, which I do, you got legal questions and stuff. Sometimes you get a freebie. Sometimes it costs you $150. But knowing the legal standards and knowing like easements and things like that. Can you block an easement in Arkansas? No, you can't. I can't put a gate across an easement to stop somebody from going through. I can't put a lock gate, and block them from going through. So, like, I've got easements on my property. So, the railroad tracks at the back of my property. The center of the railroad tracks, there's an easement. I've talked to lawyers, well, not lawyers, but my lawyer, and I also have all documentation that's passed down through deed. But the railroad tracks on the back, Bell Atlantic, and whoever Bell Atlantic is bought by, I don't know who they're owned by now. I think it's one of the fiber optic companies or whatever. But they have an easement down the railroad track. They're the only ones. Nobody else can go down railroad tracks. I can stop anybody from going through. They're the only one that has a legal easement. Now, I've told neighbors if they want to put bridges in to use the railroad track to go down, I'm not going to block anybody from going down railroad tracks because I really don't care. If somebody wants to go down railroad tracks, that's 6 feet on my property. I don't care if they go on 6 feet my property because there's already the easement for the Bell Atlantic because the railroad track used to go through there. R&R Railroad or M&R or whoever had the easement first, then it's the phone company. So that, there's no point. Now, if you own both sides, you can block it off to anybody except the one who has the easement, which somebody down the railroad tracks farther from Louisiana bought both sides of the railroad track and put fence across railroad tracks. So legally, he can do that. Legally, for me, I've got an easement down Gregory Lane, and my lawyer said you can put a fence along the edge of the road. You can't put a fence in the road because I own to the halfway point of the road. There is a 25-foot easement from the center of the road on my property, and the other neighbor has a 25-foot easement from center road into his property. So I can legally put a fence right on the edge of the road all the way down the road. I didn't do that. I've been filming for 4 years now here, showing me doing brush piles, doing my fencing. Never had any issues doing any of it. And like I said, try to be a good neighbor. Don't put a fence right on the edge of the road. In the beginning, at the front of the homestead, I was going to put it towards the edge, and the neighbor said I couldn't do it. And at the time, I didn't have a lawyer, so I didn't ask about it. But now that I have a lawyer, now I know all this because of things that are escalating. But I can put a fence directly on the edge of the road. Other states, you cannot do that. But in Arkansas, it's legal to put it right on the edge of the road. And then if they have to come through, they would have to take the fence down because they have the 25-foot easement, but they have to put the fence back up. Whatever they take down, they have to put back up as it was. Also, in my deed, and through the lawyer, Gregory Lane is an ingress-egress easement, which means they can come in and out of my property or through my property to get to their property. That's why Gregory Lane was placed in. So that was a legal easement for them to gain access to their land and to the different parcels. So it was a big corporation that bought all this and then subdivided it and then put in different roads to get to the different parcels. So with it in state of Arkansas, with the ingress-egress easement, whoever has the easement, which is the neighbors and only the neighbors, they can go through my property and spend enough time on my property to get through to their property. They're not to stay on my property. They're not to play on my property. It's used to get to their property and get out of their property. So they have the easement for that. But in, say, Arkansas, like I said, I can put a fence to the edge of the road because I can't block them from getting to their property because I own the land. And in Arkansas, you can use all of your land minus the road part of the easement that you can't block. So I can put the fence on the edge of the road. I can graze my cattle, stuff like that. But I don't want to do that. And like I've showed, my fences are like 25 feet off or whatever from the center. And then I put a brush pile outside the fence, but they're still, I think it's 18 or 20 feet to the center of the road. So if they want to bring in a double wide trailer, it's going to fit right down the road. There's a couple trees, that might be an issue, but the tree's been there for 100+ years. So they can't take those trees out. So they can use the easement, but they can't take my trees out. So that's another thing, but they can still get a trailer or whatever down through there. So that's the things I'm talking about, being neighborly and things like that. There's other easements in Arkansas, but like, I forget the terminology for Moscow Love. So Moscow Love runs along the front of my homestead, and that's a county maintained road. And there's another term for that easement, and that's for anybody. Anybody can drive. Public, anything. Gregory Lane is not public. That is an ingress egress easement, which means they are the only ones to use it. So a bunch of people want it to come four-wheeling up and down through my property. I can actually have that stop because they don't have a right to the property. Only the neighbors have the right to drive through my property. But Moscow Love is the public one or whatever. I forget what he told me the terminology is. But anybody can go up and down the road, and that is a 30-foot easement from the center road back. Now, on county maintained roads, Searcy County at the Quorum Court, one of the videos that I did, they changed it for county maintained roads that the fence can't be on the edge of the road. So there is a new legal standard for county maintained roads in Searcy County that you can no longer place a fence on the edge of the road. Now, if you had fencing on the edge of the road, you can maintain that fencing still, but you can't do a new fence where a fence has never been. So that's another reason why I say you want to have a good lawyer. You want to talk to a lawyer, because if you do something that's illegal, then it's against you. If you're always in good legal standard, then when you go to court, it's not, hey, you got poop on your shoes too. You want to go in with clean shoes, and the only poop on the shoe is the other person. So since I haven't put a fence, well, I got a fence out front, but once again, I put it, I think like 40 feet from the center of the road. I don't even remember what I did it, but from being in Colorado, you couldn't put fences right on the road in an easement like that. You had to put the fence back. It had to be so many feet back. So out here, even though I had the legal right, like I said, that's why I have a lawyer on retainment. That's why my lawyer's doing different things. That's why I pay for information. But even though I had the right to do that out on Moscow Love, I brought the fence back so far because if something changes, I know I would be grandfathered in, but I don't want to be in that type of legal issue or legal battle. Same thing with Purdom Lane. So when I bought this property, I had the plat maps and everything, and Gregory Lane goes and gets a bunch of parcels because this, like I said, big corporations subdivided this area, and they put in different roads to go to different parcels because it was going to be like a neighborhood with different lanes and everything like that. So Gregory Lane dead ends into the land, and Purdom Lane dead ends into land. So Purdom Lane gave ingress and egress easement to each of the 6 parcels. Gregory Lane gives ingress egress easement to the neighbor up front, then there's Ted, there's me, and then my neighbors over here, and the one part they own both the parcels back there, and they own more, but Gregory Lane gives ingress and egress easement to both of their parcels. So before I bought the homestead, that was one of the things I checked with was Purdom Lane. I did not want people driving through. So because I bought all 6 parcels, and all 6 parcels are the only ones that have ingress egress easement, then Purdom Lane could be blocked off because it's now one solid chunk of land and it's basically a driveway. Now, if I sold any of my land or parceled out my land that had ingress egress easements to the land or to Purdom Lane, then Purdom Lane would have to be open and I can have a gate across Purdom. So these are just the different things. I know, some of you guys probably don't care about this type of stuff, but I'm just throwing different stuff out there because I know throughout this year that I wasn't YouTubing, people told me they like hearing my different thoughts and my point of views and my different knowledge and the different things that I go through. And this is just another thing I've gone through is covering, my behind with everything. Same thing with the ranch in Colorado, where the neighbor tried to stop me from getting into the ranch. It's all interesting to hear. Well, I appreciate it, Michael. So like getting into the ranch, I came from the one side where I mulched that driveway, and they called code enforcement, zoning and all that, and said I was illegally trespassing, and it had deeded easement, but it wasn't an ingress egress. It was I don't even remember what it's called. I can't even think. But in Colorado, it's an easement that I can not only drive in and drive out my land, but I can use. So that's why I was able to mulch that whole driveway. It wasn't that I just could drive in and drive out. I couldn't do anything. I could do something because the easement was used as a use easement that I could use it. So that, like I said, I had the property surveyed out there, the ranch. So I paid like $3,800 to have that surveyed. And then I paid lawyer out there to get all that information with the easement because the county told me I had no easement there. And that was a little bit of a battle with Fremont County because it was all documented, but they supposedly didn't have the documents. And then all of a sudden the documents were found in court. So that's why you want to check everything. If you're going to buy land, for all you homesteaders or anybody thinking about homesteading, I haven't really talked about this or said this before because I haven't started, I've never really aired all this stuff going out. But if you're going to buy land, even if you're not going to homestead, have a lawyer and go through the title. Make sure you know where all your easements are. Make sure you know who can go through your land or can't go through your land or what have you. Because like I said, Purdom Lane was an ingress egress easement for 6 different parcels. I own all 6 parcels, so nothing can be done there. Gregory Lane, I know the easement there. Moscow Love, I know the easement there. And then the railroad tracks in the back, I know the easement there. All that was discovered prior to me signing to buy this land. You don't want to buy something. If you buy a land with house on it, make sure the house is on your land. That's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. There's a house on my land, and that's what my lawyer's working on. So if you buy something and you didn't get a survey done and you put a structure on land that isn't yours, then the other landowner, if they try to be neighborly and try to work with you, which I also try to work, and that doesn't come to term, then like I said, last resort is legal. And now I've got $6,000 into lawyer fees, and it looks like it's going to go to court and all that. So That's why I said I can't discuss everything that's ongoing with that, because until that gets taken care of in court and the win happens or loss happens, whatever, then I can talk about it. But always have your ducks in a row. Like I said, it does no bad to be in good legal standing, because you're not gonna beat the legal system. The legal system is here. It's gonna continue being here, and it may not feel right, may not be right, but if you've got muck on your boots, then you're gonna lose the cases. If you walk in with shiny shoes, then you're in good standing. What do you want, Max? Huh? You want to say hi? Yeah. But with that, that's it. I'm done. I'm out of here. Birthday February 24th. Well, happy early birthday, Norman. Mine's February 6th. So we'll be getting older together. With that, I hope everybody has a great night. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. If you celebrate Thanksgiving or the National Day of Mourning, hope everybody has a Merry Christmas. Hope everybody has a good holiday season, has a good final push of the year. I'll be back with Sunday, Monday vlogs now every week, every Sunday night. If not, it'd be Monday. There's Mr. Max. He looks good. There's his scar right there. You can see that big old hole. Hair's starting to grow over, so he's slowly getting better. And I'll do a chicken leg video. You want chicken legs? Chicken legs. Ooh, Boost want chicken legs. So I'll do, oh, here comes Mickey. I'll do chicken leg video coming up after I go to town. And then hopefully I'm going to start getting maybe some edited videos. Most likely it's just going to be pictures as the fencing goes up, as the power building starts going up. And I'm going to hopefully maybe have more excavation work getting done. And just keep moving forward, one step in front of the other, baby steps, and maybe by 90 I'll have a house. I'm not going to Alaska. I'm going to stay in Arkansas, because like I said, drama's everywhere, bad neighbors are everywhere, bad situations happen everywhere. Alaska has a lot of crime. My house got robbed in Colorado Springs when I lived in Colorado Springs. My truck got broken into in Canyon City. And then my restaurant got broken into here in Arkansas. So it happens. If you've never been robbed or had anything stolen, you're lucky. It happens to a lot of people, because there's a lot of cowards out there. Like I said, cowards that steal from people, cowards that sucker punch people from behind, people that shoot animals in fences or shoot horses in pastures or dumps garbage down the road or dumps oil in a creek. There's a lot of cowards, right, Boogs? Yep, that's what Boog says. So with that, like always, live happy, live free. That's the only way to be. I hope you all have a great rest of your year. And I'll see you on next Sunday, Monday vlog. Have a good night. Take it away, Max. All right. Bye-bye.